Broadcasting to you live. Yes, we're live and the mute button is not on. I've done so good. I've done so good at avoiding that mute button glitch up until Friday's show. The show starts at like 6 minutes, 43 seconds or something like that. I'm triple checking. Are we good? Are we good? We're not muted, right? Nope, we are not muted. So, live broadcasting to you from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere outside of a World Cup event near you. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Monday, June 22, 2026. And this right here, the thing that you are watching, is called the TNAM Daily Show here on the New American Media. On today's show, Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Keir? What the heck kind of name is Keir? Have you ever met a Keir? He didn't have a care in the world, did he? Isn't it, governor? Wow, oh, wow. Were the people of England absolutely brutalized under Keir Starmer? What is it, 6 prime ministers in 10 years, 8 years. Now we're going on the 7th and trying to figure out what the math is. But it's like everybody's doing like a year. That's how difficult it is to do this job and try to convince the people that you're not an enemy to the people when you're actively being invaded. Your country is being changed every single day. Go back to the mid to late 90s when the citizens of Great Britain, of England, of the UK. There's so many like overlapping UK, England, Britain. I want to be technically correct. Also, if you got that many names for yourself, I know the United Kingdom is more of a kingdom, but like the people were disarmed in England. And then pretty much for about 30 years, you've seen millions upon millions upon millions of foreign invaders conquering the nation. Rupert Lowe and the opposition parties. Now, why is the YouTube link? Let me try to triple check, make sure the YouTube link is working. Okay, it appears to be now. Rumble appears to be up and going. If anyone can confirm that Facebook is working or X is working, I would greatly appreciate it. And type your comments on the side. We love getting to your comments in the program. But the people of Great Britain have been absolutely brutalized. That grooming gang report, estimating 250 to 400,000 Indigenous British, which would be a good name for a punk band. You got the Sex Pistols and you got Indigenous British. I would go to a club and watch Indigenous Bridget. And I'm sure there was an Indigenous Bridget that was abused by these Pakistani Islamic supremacist grooming gangs. I would bet dollars to donuts. What does that phrase even mean? But I would bet there's a Bridget amongst the brutalized. Henry Nowak. He gets stabbed repeatedly. Tells the officers that are arresting him for racism or something. I can't breathe. I've been stabbed. I don't think you have, mate. And according to one of the armchair quarterback internet doctors, when he was pulled, when his arms were pulled behind him, it had likely released an area at the stab sites that had coagulated, at least partially clotted. He would have had a chance to survive had they not ripped all of that open by pulling his arms behind him to arrest him for the crime of racism or something. Nobody is surviving. Keir Starmer, anybody in that position, nobody is getting through the Henry Nowak case and the Pakistani Islamic supremacist grooming gang case. All that information basically came out within the last week, 2 weeks. Oh yeah, it's time to go. But it's not just time to go, it's time to be charged for treason, is it not? For specifically, intentionally, knowingly and intentionally. This is not, I don't know, in the heat of the moment, I made a decision. I thought it was right at the time. I can see now how a key piece of information that I overlooked or neglected or wasn't aware of made a big difference, and I wish I could have that moment back to do again. We can understand there's a lot of leeway we will give as humans because we've all been in spots. Well, what would you do? It's like, I don't know. Would I jump into the alligator enclosure? Would I call for help? Would I swing a stick? You go, I don't know. What would you do? By the way, that was another one. Wasn't that in England? I'm losing track of the stories. Actually, Jamie, let's look that up. Where was the baby thrown into the alligators and his condition? I thought it was Europe. I thought it was Great Britain. England. There's too many ways to describe yourself. England. Cambridgeshire, England. A 3-year-old boy was thrown or ended up inside the crocodile alligator enclosure. 30-year-old man from Norfolk. Is he from Norfolk or was he installed there? Where's he originally from? Is he from somewhere else? I'm looking for updates here. The man was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. Police believe he and the child were not known to each other, and he's been since released on bail. The zoo owner's wife, Tracy Johnson, jumped in the enclosure to rescue the boy along with other staff. Released on bail. You know, there's certain types of people committing certain types of crimes that you don't ever release. You don't ever release. We've got our hands on you. You're staying in your cage, much like an alligator or a crocodile is supposed to stay inside their cage for the protection of everybody. That alligator or crocodile starts roaming the streets, somebody will end that alligator or crocodile. And that alligator and crocodile's got to eat, and he's going to cause damage if you let it. Turn your guard for 1 second and shop. I did read reports that the guy was mentally, can't keep track of the vernacular. What are we supposed to say? Retarded, mentally handicapped, learning disabled. I don't know. Some of the comments say, no, it's the caretakers of that individual that need to be in jail. Okay. He's in critical but stable condition, the boy. 3-year-old boy. Serious injuries. Reports mention a broken pelvis and a broken arm. He was attacked by at least one crocodile. I'm going to ask Jamie here. Jamie is Grok. That is my that is my assistant here. Thanks, Jamie. By the way, everybody, hit the thumbs up button. However you happen to be watching, hit the thumbs up button. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with a friend. And a quick reminder, I'll put this up on the screen here. We are brought to you by viewers like you. If you like what you're seeing, if you want to support something that you believe in, and those of you who have believed in me, either for the past couple of minutes or for the past couple of years or the past couple of decades, thank you so much. Your support means everything. Brought to you by viewers like you. The 3 ways you can assist us on an ongoing basis. You set it and forget it. Become a subscriber on Patreon, Rumble, and YouTube. Go to The New American Media. Patreon, Rumble, YouTube. The New American Media. Hit subscribe. You can do it for as little as $5 or $10 a month. Or you can do 20 or 50 or 100 or 1,000. A lot of you have more money than time. A lot of you have more patriotism than willingness to speak up. And that's what I'm doing. But I can't do it if I can't pay the bills and keep the lights on here in this wonderful establishment. My name's Brian. I am your bartender. We look at what people are talking about on the TV screens behind me, and we ask you to come in, invite your friends, come on up, belly up to the bar. At the end of today's show, I'll slide you your tab at the end of my shift. It'll say $0 and free cents, but there's a tip line at the bottom. Always a tip line. Being a bartender, you work off tips. It's like being on the Santa Monica Pier or the boardwalk in Venice Beach, California, playing the guitar, and if people like what you're doing, have your guitar case open and they can toss something in. So consider becoming a monthly subscriber for as little as $60 a year. You too can help independent journalism try to combat the lies of the lying legacy media. You can also do direct, one-time Rumble Rant and Super Chat tips. Throw a couple silver coins into my tip jars back there. Got a couple of those tin buckets. Tin roof, rusted. You can do that with Rumble Rant and Super Chat tips. You just click the button. And if you're like, I would, but I'm not even connected, I don't want to set up, you can set up your credit card on Rumble and YouTube. It's very easy. If there's any issue you have with it, you're protected by your credit card. And if you could always dispute a charge, if anything ever, well, I don't want anyone else having my number. I know, I get it. But also, you can set it up, and it's not that complicated. It's not that risky. Also, if you don't want to do that, like I said, I do understand. That's why we have Venmo and Cash App. That's my name, Brian Engelman. And PayPal is fuzzinstallment@yahoo.com. It's all scrolling at the bottom of the screen if you would like to participate. So we're going to talk about Keir Starmer resigning. Too little, too late. Inevitable, of course. But it's a step in the right direction. Also, step in the right direction, Colombia has elected a leader for their country, and it's a Trump-endorsed candidate, not a deep state demon. Ooh, boy. I believe the deep state is 0-7 now that U.S. aid has been turned off. How much of the destabilization and theft across the globe has been run by the covert deep state apparatus that hates you, that hates Americans, that hates liberty, that hates freedom. They want your life to be as difficult and expensive and painful as possible. Well, kind of seems like things are a-changing, but Iran, where are we at with Iran? Short answer, who knows? Long answer, where do I begin? We don't have a peace deal. We have a memorandum of understanding. It's a step in the right direction. It's far from done. And there's going to be lots of squabbles and saber rattling and trash talking, as Vice President Vance said, along the way. Vice President Vance, I think, has done a pretty good job. I don't know how coordinated this is, but this feels like a pretty good time for J.D. Vance to go out on The Five and The View and to go negotiate memorandum of understanding, peace deals, hopeful, prospective, future peace deals, whatever you want to call the MOU, in Versailles and all President Trump involvement as well. But you can really see what I'm getting at is you can really see Vice President Vance stepping up to the global stage. And he's an effective communicator. He just has it. You either have it or you don't. So it's good to see what appears to be a bit of a passing of the torch. A couple months ago, we were pretty certain Marco Rubio was going to be the next president. Maybe, maybe not. But J.D. Vance has the chops. Marco Rubio seems very capable. And a reminder from our Friday show, it's not like the U.S. is giving $300 billion to Iran out of your pockets. $0 out of your pockets are going to Iran. There's a conglomeration. There's a coordination between Gulf states and other interests that will invest into the nation if they abide by the terms of the Memorandum of Understanding. And by the way, this is step one. You've heard the stories of ammunition and arms being delivered to the people. It seems like the coming revolution, perhaps, to overthrow the Islamic supremacist regime that's brutalized people since 1947, that's going to be running on a parallel track. I don't think the United States is particularly interested in regime change per se. It's about crippling the infrastructure that allows the terrorist regime to dominate the energy markets. You saw what happened in Venezuela. You see what's happening in Iran with the Strait of Hormuz. Saw what happened at the Panama Canal. The entire global game of risk is being reconfigured. What does that mean? Well, in a lot of ways, it means like things are getting better. In a lot of ways, you can say, hey, we'll have to wait and see. But we will try to touch on that along with Anthony Fauci. Should he be facing crimes against humanity charges? That massive report from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard Friday, her final day in office, really laid out the groundwork. And a lot of people like Ron Paul and myself are biding our time. We are chomping at the bit because Anthony Fauci is an absolute monster, liar, cover-upper. That's not a phrase. Well, it is now. I hold Anthony Fauci directly responsible for my mother's death and my brother's death. My brothers especially. The way that they lied about what was happening to really push this bullshit story that it came from bats. A bat kissed a pangolin. And then somebody had soup. And then they sneezed. Okay. And then all of that information about the potentially intentional lab release. Don't call it a comeback. Don't call it a lab leak. It's been there for years. Was it all part of the grand conspiracy to force everybody to stay home, shut down the economy, force vote by mail? And then you see the landslide for President Trump. But wait, there's a state that can't finish counting their votes in time. We're not used to seeing this. 2 states. 3 states, 4 states, 5. What was it, 6 or 7 states where Trump was up? President Trump was easily whooping Joe Biden hundreds of thousands of votes. There were late night tallies. And then over the course of several days, look, Joe Biden got 81 million totally legitimate votes, people. We also have to talk about the Save America Act because Leader John Thune is not putting it forward. He will not nuke the filibuster. He won't do the standing filibuster. He won't just put it on the table and debate it and pass it. And so now FISA is tracked into this. Not going to vote for FISA until you get this or that. And there's a lot going on. It's all connected. So yeah, we will touch on that. Also, happy Father's Day to the fathers out there. And many more stories coming up on today's episode of the TNAM Daily Show. Yes, let's do it. You could see the gears turning in my head. Let's do a simultaneous sip. I pulled up Scott Adams, a Coffee with Scott Adams episode where he was talking about the key to overcoming laziness is how you process it. If you're thinking too much about what needs to happen, instead of thinking more about the result at the end of the road after these things are complete, that's the end of the road. That's what you're focusing on. And it's sort of a shift in mentality that'll get that done. Scott Adams left a lot of wisdom on the table when he left this earthly realm. And that's a pretty good one. It's about reframing your brain. He wrote a book on it. So anyway, this morning I did a honorary simultaneous sip, like along with him. I'm like, I haven't done that in so long. I do this with you every now and then. But I hadn't listened to Scott do it in a very long time. He hasn't done his show for months. So let's do it. If you'd like to participate in this honorary simultaneous sip, all you need is a cup or mug or glass, a tank or chalice or stein, a canteen, jug or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. And join me now for the unparalleled pleasure, the dopamine hit of the day. The thing that makes everything better is called the simultaneous sip, and it happens now. Go! Could somebody time me from beginning to go? What is my current record? Did I do that in 6 seconds? I'm trying to remember. 6 or 7 seconds. What's the difference? Anywho, thanks for joining me today. We'll get to your comments on the other side. Buckle up, buttercups. The TNAM Daily Show starts now.
your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. Here's a programming note, by the way. Number one, yes, on Friday, I believe I intended to try a live show in the evening. Time did not permit. However, stay tuned. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. I think the late night show is something people would enjoy, and I think I would enjoy it as well. Just got to put the Lego pieces together. I know the pieces fit because I watched them fall away. Mildewed and smoldering, fundamental differing, pure intentions juxtaposed enough to souls in motion. Geez, I know the song. It's a Tool song. I'm working through the lyrics, but as I'm trying to communicate, I'm like, it's so slowly delivered. I don't know how to do it quickly. So I got caught up on that a little bit. Thank you all for being here. Like I said, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Hello, Trash Panda Texas in the house. Alberta Arnold checking in. He's number 6 on the list. Number 6 with a bullet, y'all. What? What does that even mean, you say? Well, we're the TNAM. We're the TNAM Trash Pandas, a division of the New American Media. I believe we have a revised roster on the way, as so many people like myself are getting excited for NFL football, college football. It's football time. June, July, man, this is the time you're practicing. You're installing your offense, your defense, your special teams, rookies, veterans, free agents. Oh, it's so exciting. But Arnold is claiming number 6, if 6 is available. David Bann up there making us an international show. Always happy to have that. Good to have ya. It's 8 degrees and raining here in Western Alberta. 8 degrees. Celsius, Fahrenheit, pounds, ounces, what are we? Celsius. What's a Celsius? All my Canadian buddies are like speaking in French Canadian. Eh? Why'd you sound like Fargo? What's that all about? A boat. Is it a boot or a boat? Either way. Happy to have you all here. Trash Panda saying Facebook is not live yet. I wonder if it is. Facebook is freaking, it's no feed yet. All right. Does it show that it's working? It says unable to connect. Well, hang on. Wow, thank you for this. Yeah, this is a community-run program here. Okay, I refreshed. Oh, that might have done it. Now it says sending data, where it wasn't saying that a second ago. See, part of the program was being ready to go, and before you do, you realize that your computer's asking you for an update. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, here, let's update our browsing protocol and log out and log back into everything. So maybe that has something to do with our Facebook not being up. Trying to put this Facebook in, but it's going to be kind of wonky. It still says sending data. Oh, okay. Yeah, it says 36 minutes ago, the New American Media plans to go live. Well, how do let me click this. Watch live video. Well, yeah, I want to watch live video. Why would I click this and not want to watch it? Okay, it shows that we're live. We're live. Well, awesome. Thanks for helping me with that. It appears as though we are good to go at this point. Good. Okay, thank you for that. All right. David talking about dams collapsing. Dams collapsing? I know Democrats are collapsing. What dams are we talking about? David says, does that mean Trump can go right after the ex-president in Colombia for his cocoa empire? I mean, we shall see, right? Marion in the house, thank you for being here. Mark joining us. Very good, very good. Swing states, swing late. Okay. Swing states, swing late. Mark is saying regarding handguns, they put a leaflet in the feds reminding everyone it's illegal to allow anyone under 18 access to a handgun. You know, we didn't really cover the story enough. But there was a ruling. There's a pretty important ruling. Marijuana gun law. Cannabis users can own guns. This is out of normal. I'll make sure that we talk about this. Supreme Court ruled in United States versus Hamani. It struck down the federal ban on gun possession for some marijuana users, holding it violates the Second Amendment as applied. The decision raises major questions about due process history and who can be disarmed under federal law. Okay. That sounds pretty relevant. So as you're talking about that in chat, I want to make sure we added that context. David loves the Trash Panda team. Yes, and we're growing. We are growing. We are growing by the day. 8 degrees Celsius equals 46 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, 46 is chilly. It's there have been weather systems ripping through America, that's for sure. Mark is bellied up to the bar. I'll take a tequila sunrise and some jerky. Done and done. Okay, Trash Panda says, now it's working. I believe that's for the Facebook feed. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And Mark is referencing how the UK was disarmed. Was it third? Oh, they disarmed you. Yeah. Yeah, we gotta fight for our right to exist, let alone our fight for our right to party, like like the Beastie Boys talked about. But for today, let's start off with something a little different, shall we? Something I don't do very often. Let's pull up our Truth Social page. Do you know we have a Truth Social page? Do you follow the New American Media on Truth Social? Right there it is. From sports to spirituality, comedy to Congress, freedom to firearms, seeking truth, challenging dogmen, having fun. Join us for the mostly civil conversation. I guess this has it pinned here, our Patreon link. That's excellent, if anyone wants to go there. This is a Ron Paul speech that we filmed at the Libertarian Convention in May of 2 years ago. Goodness gracious. Whew. Where does time fly? Sit down with Anomaly here. This was 2023, back when DeSantis was trying to get the nomination. Let's roll through a couple of stories here. And can you raise your hand if you're sure that you're following the New American Media on Truth Social? And tell me you all at least have a Truth Social account. President Trump basically created this when all of the lying legacy media, social media companies banned him at once. When he was framed for an insurrection. The only insurrection where firearms were not used. Yeah. It was a mostly peaceful protest. And President Trump said, let's go there peacefully, patriotically, make our voices heard. President Trump had to build a social media site so he could at least get his information out there and everybody could follow. So on principle, even though nobody in their life has time for extra social media sites, sign up on Truth Social. This is not an advertisement for Truth Social that they've paid me to do. I'm just saying, we started one. We don't do a ton on there, but you should. And follow us when you get there. MRC Newsbusters puts this out. The FDA bans peptides, so Americans buy them from Chinese black markets? Huh? A buddy was telling me about this. He's excited about peptides. The internet is filled with claims. They raise your energy, boost metabolism, clear your skin, slow down aging, build more muscle, repair injuries. I want some. There's a problem. The FDA bans most of them. Why? Dr. Anita Gupta, an anesthesiologist and pharmacist who was on the FDA committee that recommended the ban, explains there's a lot of hype. We want to hack into our health, right? Get better really quickly, but we can't reboot our own bodies, can't undo an injection. There could be an immune response. Could be. This is from John Stossel. But peptides are definitely useful. Insulin is a peptide, so are the new GLP-1 weight loss drugs. People can lose up to a third of their body weight, says neuroscientist Andrew Huberman. Popular young influencers boast about other results. I built more muscle and became much stronger overall. Claims YouTuber Manuel Enrique, my best secret weapon to heal. Writes Nikki Martin. They're not medical professionals, responds Gupta. She points out that no government agency checks the ingredients. Are you actually getting what you think you're getting? That's the problem. It's a problem made worse by the FDA. Because of its ban, most American peptides come from overseas labs, often from China. Great! It's not like anything bad could come to us from an overseas lab in China, right? Right? Mark, roll peppy tide. Roll tide. Roll peppy tide. Yeah, as a Cleveland Indians fan, we call them the Tribe. And I'd say roll Tribe all the time. Roll Tribe. It continues. They skirt the rules in China by claiming their peptides are not for human use, but for research purposes only. Since black market Chinese products dominate the market, how does the FDA's ban actually protect us? I confronted Gupta in my new video because the FDA makes peptides illegal. It's harder to check out the source. People sneak it in the country. If they just said it's your choice, there'd be American products. Why do you doctors get to be the gatekeepers? It's my body. Can't I make my own choice? We have to respect the patient's autonomy, she replies, but at the same time, we have to provide informed consent. I consent, I say. Consent to what? Do you know all the risks? There are plenty of risks. Some people have allergic reactions, anaphylactic shock, others high blood pressure. But the FDA shutting down American suppliers doesn't prevent that. I'm glad the FDA protected Americans from bad drugs, but the protection also costs lives by denying people good drugs. Beta blockers saved lives for years overseas before they were finally approved here. The FDA's delay may have cost 100,000 lives. And he links an article. The FDA is a creaky bureaucracy. It can take 10 to 15 years to approve a new drug. In the meantime, people die from black market drugs and others miss out on products that might extend our lives. We're still in the early stages of trying to figure out if peptides are truly an innovation, says Gupta. Sure, there's a possibility that there's a great breakthrough that we're about to see, but the long-term study has not been done. But you sure rolled out the jab, didn't you? And you sure made sure that you had blanket protections, Big Pharma, during the potentially intentional release from the Chinese laboratory funded by Fauci, according to Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard on her last day in office. A bombshell report so stunning, she probably waited till the last day so maybe she could avoid a couple of assassination attempts, huh? Oh, who stands to gain? Who could make money off of this? Well, if those rumors are true, and a court of law has not proven those things to be true, right? Well, they certainly rolled out that jab for COVID-19, didn't they? Coronavirus, COVID-19. Oh, by the way, safe and effective. Yeah, it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated. There's no side effects. Right? Safe and effective, 100% safe and effective. You remember, right? You remember these lies. You remember what they told us nonstop, hitting us over the head with it. How much of that proved to be true? Is 0% an understatement, an overstatement? Pretty close to 0% of what they told us was fully accurate. And I think Fauci's intentional misleading misrepresentation of the disease, of where it came from, of the early results, of what could have potentially therapeutic healing options for people such as hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, monoclonal antibodies, etc. Yeah, you sort of worked with the lying legacy media and social media to censor everybody who was talking about the alternates to your ideas. You got them deplatformed, demonetized, deleted from life, from the public square. Persona non grata. You had to wear a cape, a cloak of invisibility to stroll along the digital public square. Who knows how many lives could have been saved with proper access and a lack of a demonization campaign for monoclonal antibodies, hydroxychloroquine, and ivermectin? Who knows? No, I don't claim that it would have saved every person. Never once said that. So you don't get to ding me for that. Oh, but Fauci. If this doesn't remind you, this peptides conversation, of the inverse of what the FDA and CDC, and pick your alphabet agency regarding Fauci. They misrepresented, lied, or obfuscated, or hid just about everything relevant. Did they not? But they were able to ram everything through. Oh, but the FDA has to protect us from peptides just in case, right? No long-term study has been done. Yeah, well, it wasn't done on your jab either, now was it? Continuing the article. Still, the FDA now at least says they may ease restrictions the Biden administration put on popular peptides. Maybe they'll do it because RFK Jr. is a big fan of peptides. John Stossel's question: in a free country, why do bureaucrats have the right to tell us what we may and may not put into our own bodies? You don't. Don't we own our bodies? Yes, we do. It should be our choice. Yes, it should. I got stronger after the internet told me to take daily creatine and protein powder. Protein breaks down into peptides. I'm old. Maybe I should take the new peptides. I'm scared to try. Still, it should be my choice. There should be 1,000 experiments instead of a one-size-must-fit-all FDA. Exactly. And when my brother was hospitalized and we talked about the Merrick protocol and we had a doctor that was prescribing this, we were told that there's one treatment method that's approved. Nothing else may occur in the hospital. Oh, man. They were super excited to inject my brother with remdesivir. Sorry, that's what the nurses and doctors who are being honest call it. Remdesivir. What was the efficacy on COVID-19 from remdesivir? What were the side effects? Shutting down key organs? What the clinical trials? All of the evidence pointing to why was that something that was given? And then, as quickly as you can, shove a ventilation tube down their throat, and it was the ventilator that killed a lot of them. Oh, you can say, well, they were already ravaged by the disease. Yeah, maybe. So the ventilator didn't kill them. It was just they were already. It just. They would have died anyway if it weren't for the ventilator. Well, we'll never know now, will we? Because they were certainly addicted to giving you that flu shot. Fast track, warp speed. A lot of people said we couldn't do it, and we did it bigly. And at the time, it was good. At the time, it was great, actually, because the people freaking out and wanted to shut down the world forever, well, if you were only going to be placated with your pacifier, here's your pacifier, kiddo. Here's your pacifier. Have a good time with it. And the rest of us, can we get back to everything else we've been doing? But no, it was when Biden came in and they started restricting monoclonal antibodies. And don't forget, President Trump came out talking about hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin. And all hands on deck. You got to demonize that potentially therapeutic option. It's not your job to shut down medical opportunities for us, lying legacy media. It's not your job to shut down potentially helpful medical assistance for us, Democrat Party or Republican Party, or anybody attached to Big Pharma, the advertising wing, the lobbying wing, etc. It's our bodies. It's our choice. How can you say something like that? You're pro-life. Hey, look, I do get in a society for many pragmatic and unfortunate reasons. Having abortion, free. Having abortion, safe, effective, and rare? Well, the rare part has been pretty much thrown overboard. No, I think we should be personally doing everything we can in our own personal lives to not have to put ourselves in a position where we need an abortion. Should it be available? I understand it from both sides of the equation. I get it. I can understand and hear you from both sides of that. But yeah, shouldn't it be up to the person? If they're personally pro-life, they're going to get to personally stay pro-life. You know what I mean? Oh, David, yeah. Unfortunately, they shut down most opposition during those times. Yeah. David, yeah, we were silenced. We couldn't communicate. Our accounts were deleted on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google, Twitter at the time, right? Lie after lie. It was a very dark time, and we're headed back to it if we don't keep going. They claimed hospitals were full of people going blind from ivermectin. I recall hearing something like that. Yeah, now they want informed consent. Oh, do they? There's criminality on every level of this stuff. But here we are, banning peptides. So all you're doing is making sure that the peptides that are coming in could be laced with pangolin soup. Why are we doing this? You should be able to opt in with very clear information stating what's proven, what's not, what's allowable. I don't want the government in charge of our healthcare. No, thank you. Alberta Arnold has a theory. He says it was all planned decades ago when the feds realized that the baby boomers will one day retire from the workforce and old age security pension payments will bankrupt the IRS, so wipe out the elderly. And then it was discovered that because you've stolen too much from us, you boomers, what's the inflation rate been like since 1973 when you took us off the gold standard? I was confused 71 with 73. I think it's 73. What's the inflation rate since the inception of the Federal Reserve private banking cartel? They're not a federal agency. They're private banks. Why are they creating the money that they loan back to us with an interest tab running? Excuse me? Another topic for another day, but it's all related. I think we've lost like 96% of our purchase power since 1913. Woodrow Wilson, Federal Reserve, Anti-Defamation League, income tax, 1913, Woodrow Wilson. Wow. Bravo for progressivism. And you're right, Mark. President Trump did do right to try, which is the way it should be. You should have a right to do what you want with your body. So I found all that to be incredibly interesting. That's over there on our Truth Social account because it connects to all these other stories. Of course it does. Judicial Watch, lawsuit settlements are confirmed. Just confirmed ongoing removal over 1.1 million names in Colorado and Oregon. These are the ghost voters clogging up our voting rolls. We can't have a country if we can't track the people who are on our voting rolls. And they've been stalling, they've been obfuscating, they've been lying, they've been hiding. Why? Sure seems like we caught them. There's a new federal lawsuit against California seeking to remove at least 873,000 more names. So that's 6 million names removed nationally already. Remove every name that doesn't belong and do it now. Do it today. Leanne stepping in to say hi. What's up, Leanne? Yeah, Leanne has a Jersey number, right? No, we have Lori. We don't have Leanne. Sorry, if you're just tuning in, we're arranging our TNAM softball team, the Trash Pandas. You know, because the raccoons rifle through the rubbish, separating fake news from fact. Thank you for being here. Yep, hitting that like button and bouncing out. And remember, as you're doing those other things, put your earbuds in and you can listen to us. Just be careful crossing the road. Just so you have your senses about you. I don't want you to be so distracted. But thank you for being here, Leanne. Okay, Arnold saying in 71, Nixon had to pay for the Vietnam mess, which MIC started and abortion was made legal. Oh. Yeah, moments in time, swings, pendulums. It's all connected. All right, so let's report this to you. Remember that Colorado teacher? This is on our Truth Social account. Go on Truth Social and follow the New American Media. Also find our podcast. It's currently under the Agree to Disagree Show. Oh, okay, look at that. Leanne, according to Trash Panda Texas, Leanne is number 32 on the new roster. Oh, there you go. So here on the program, the TNAM Daily Show, we've talked about this teacher. So let's walk through it. Remember, this Colorado teacher, Jennifer Honka, was fired for allegedly, that's it. It's not alleged. Forcing girls to make out in class. And they were graded on how good of a job they did, how convincing they were, recreating scenes from movies or TV or something. I believe is a specific story. Very creepy, groomy. So she's fired unanimously. It's like, what are you doing? And then she gets a new job as an elementary school teacher. This time at Malley Drive Elementary School. Wow. How great is that? It's like the bad cop that just bounces districts, or the abusing pedo priest goes from Boston to Cleveland, or Boston to Manhattan, or Boston to Miami, right? You just shuffle the abuser over. It's not our problem anymore. Let someone else deal with them. It's like the cops and the district attorneys that won't arrest the bad guys in your neighborhood. Yeah, just grab them. Get rid of them. No, we'll just re-release them and see how it goes. Great. So, this girl is hired by an elementary school. Bad news. But she has just had her contract terminated at her new school per the Daily Caller. Yeah. There should be an sexual abuse charge slapped on her. So she has to stay 200 feet away from schools at all times. How hard would it be for something somewhere to just say, no, you've been terminated for creeping on kids. You're not allowed to be within 200 feet of a school ever. That'll take care of this person being hired again to creep and groom on kids. By the way, there are a ton of teachers creeping and grooming kids. It's like, it's their favorite thing to do. Not all teachers. But she's allegedly been fired from her new job. And I'm calling on Colorado to find some way to register her as a sex offender and make sure that she has to stay 200 feet away from schools at all times. That would require charges, so maybe you need to bring the charges. If the charges are serious enough to get her fired from the job, they're serious enough to charge her with a crime. You creep. So we'll keep our eyes peeled on that story. And of course, check out our Friday show. Tulsi says Anthony Fauci funded Wuhan and then lied to Congress. A reminder that no U.S. money is going to Iran. The details of what Chris Christie and others are reporting is not accurate. And of course, MAGA is pushing John Thune to enact the Save America Act. So check that out. All right, let's bounce over to Instagram. By the way, this would be a great opportunity to remind you to hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with a friend. Consider signing up to be a monthly sponsor on Patreon, YouTube, and Rumble. Keeps the lights on. It's super important. And if you want to drop a one-time tip, you can do a Rumble rant or Super Chat or Venmo Cash App. That's my name, Brian Engelman, or PayPal, fuzzinstallment at Yahoo. All that is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. You know, I watched a guy. There's a channel I located somewhere, somehow. And this guy is he's in scuba gear and he's got the equipment. Doesn't take a ton of equipment, but he's going through streams and he's getting gold. And like, what is it, like $200 an ounce or something, roughly somewhere in there. He's mining enough gold. He's getting it from the rivers. His goal is to get a $70,000 Toyota 4Runner or something. And every day it's like, I got this much gold. He weighs it out. He dries it, weighs it. It's like, all right, so I'm $1,100 closer to exchanging gold for a new car, new truck, new SUV or whatever. It's like, that's pretty cool. But it's very similar to me. I do these shows every day, trying to pay off a truck. Well, trying to build a career out of this. So your support is crucial. It is definitely helpful. And you inviting a couple friends to the party, invite them to the bar around lunchtime. It's crucial. Now, here's a programming note I meant to tell you at the top of the show, but you know how things go. I have been invited to guest host a program tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Got to figure out the technology. I've replied, great, sounds great. What do we need to do? So now I believe I'm going to get login. I'm going to get to test it. So stay tuned. I may run a test show later today. You may or may not see it. I'll tell you, it will be for Strictly Speaking with Bob France. So he is gathering a bunch of patriots to go roughly from the Cleveland area to the capital of Ohio, Columbus today, having a big America 250 celebration. And so he is not going to do the show prep to load an early show in for tomorrow. And he asked me to guest host. So if you could join me for that tomorrow, that would be huge. If we could get you early in the bar, if we open up the bar early to pick up Bob's morning shift. I don't usually work the morning shift, but provided we can get the technology working, and that's a big if, anytime we're logging in and out of new accounts. And I think he uses StreamYard instead of Restream, unless he goes directly through the Rumble Studio, which I've never used. I'm willing to make it work. I'm willing to try. So stay tuned tomorrow and keep your eyes peeled for our feed. I don't know if I'm going to be able to share this show through our YouTube and Rumble. If I can, I would like to try to do that. So his show, Strictly Speaking, could go to all of you and you'll get the alert since you're subscribing to me. But if you would take a second and just follow him, he's a staunch conservative, solid, staunch Republican. Strictly Speaking, Unfiltered. Am I saying it right? Now I'm triple checking myself. Let's pull it up. Let's make sure. Strictly Speaking. Yeah, Strictly Speaking Unfiltered with Bob France. Here it is. Nope, now this video is playing, but I did not want that. Could you all go over and toss a follow to Strictly Speaking Unfiltered with Bob France? So we'll see. I've said yes, I will, but I don't know how. And we're going to try to work that out today. So go follow Bob regardless. And I may or may not be able to do a 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern time show tomorrow. It'd be great to have some of you over there. I know some of you stay up till 7 in the morning. I'm looking in your general direction. You know who you are. But anyway, there's a programming note. I am hoping that plays out. Trash Panda already followed him long ago. Yes, that's awesome. I don't believe that he's Strictly Rumble. I've watched him on YouTube, but he advertises it on primarily he advertises it to Rumble for obvious reasons, because people like us get silenced on Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Meta. It's just, you do what you can. Mark says Miami Bob knows it's 5 o'clock somewhere. That Miami Bob. Marion says that teacher from Colorado, she shouldn't be allowed to move and teach in any other state as well. Yeah, she should have her education license revoked. She should never be allowed to teach again, says David. Mark asking, did she video it? That's a big charge. Yeah. Trash Panda says, I can send the new roster of softball team, but he has more to add. When on your timeline, whatever works. Oh, you shared some awesome pictures last week. Where are they? I think they're on our X feed. So let's buzz through the rest of our story, see if we can scroll back far enough and see those. Let's pull up Instagram first and see what's going on. Do not have our slew of 20 to 30 stories on Instagram today, but we do have this. Delaney Hall on Father's Day. They're protesting ICE with an upside-down flag and blocking the road. And she's down. Mr. Andy No says, a leftist anti-American protester waving an upside-down U.S. flag was blocking the entrance to Delaney Hall when she was knocked to the ground by a car. ZWS hopes the car is okay. Well, that's funny. Scott says, there are instructions on the front of the car. It says, Dodge. Guy says, your flag is upside down. Oops. It's right side up now. Clar says, libs will want to ban all challengers as dangerous weapons now. Yeah, why are they blocking the streets? It's because it's what they do. You can protest, but you can't impede. It's not complicated. And it's not complicated to have enough people there to arrest somebody for obstructing, what would the charge be? Can't just say for being an asshole. Okay. So if you're not going to say it like that, you don't get to block the roadways. You don't get to be a nuisance. You don't get to be trespassing. You can protest it around the area. You can't do it like that. But anyway, I don't think she expired from this event. I should probably check. Health. Jamie, let's look this up. The health status of Delaney Hall girl who was hit by the red car. Any charges on either side? All right, Jamie, look that up for me real quick. I don't want to be as aloof about this if she expired. No serious injuries. On Father's Day, struck from behind, waving the upside-down American flag, dancing and making gestures. Organizers report she was not blocking traffic, did not see the car coming, and is not believed to have sought medical care. No charges reported against the driver, a GEO group employee in a personal vehicle. Okay, no arrests or citations or serious injuries, but that happened. And yeah, we're going to talk about Charlie Kirk on Father's Day because you can say what you want about Turning Point USA. You can say what you want and have your questions about Tyler Robinson, the official story. Why did they immediately pave over the area that would compromise evidence? Why was AI used to generate those images of what they said was Tyler Robinson? Why does the official story of using, what is the name? The rhinoceros gun, the 30-06, if I'm saying that right. It took out an elephant, it stopped at his neck, and there was no exit wound. What about those videos that show all the kinetic energy rippled through his shirt like it was the lapel pin going off like a rogue pager? There's a lot of questions. What's going on with Erica? What about TPUSA? Have they changed the focus of their organization? Was Charlie Kirk taken out because of his stance on this issue or that issue? Regardless of where you may land on any of those questions, concerns, and I don't believe the official narratives, and I think someone else was behind it, set that aside for a second. Reasonable people can look at stuff like that. Let's remember that there are two children that will never know their dad, okay? And in continuation of my ongoing theme here on the New American Media and the TNAM Daily Show, you took Charlie Kirk off the board. You thought that would silence him. No, you martyred him, you imbeciles. If I go hit up estate sales or garage sales or thrift shops, which I do because I resell. I run a business selling things. I find value in things, but there's things that I'll always pick up. especially if it's at the right price. I'm not very interested in paying top dollar for much. But if there's a box or a Darth Vader carrying case full of original 1970s figures and the price is right, I'll grab it. Because you pick these things up at every other place and you're trying to make a full set and you got extras, but then you just combine them. Oh, you got a bag of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Cool. G.I. Joes. Cool. Video games. Cool. If the price is right, how much for the whole box? I do that all the time with toys and stuff. How much for the whole box? And you always just ask for the whole box. Give me the whole box. Just bought 3 boxes of toys. And right in there was a Canon Power Shot. It's like an $80 camera, tested working. Boom. Not bad when you pay $10 for 3 boxes of toys. And then all the toys can be $5 or $10 a piece. So, much like how I will tend to always purchase the same types of items if the price is right at whatever garage sale I hit. I see a Charlie Kirk post, and I'm going to share a Charlie Kirk post. This is not quite like Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting saying, I picked the wrench. Why'd you pick the wrench? Because F him. But no, to the people, the entities, the powers that be, the ideology that snuffed Charlie Kirk out to take him off the playing field, off of the chessboard as potential future Republican president, MAGA president maybe. I see Charlie Kirk, I share Charlie Kirk. That was a long road to get there, but I see him, I share him. Much like if I see stuff in a estate sale and it's the right kind of thing, I'll just grab it. I'll sort it out later. I know it'll be worth the energy, the expenditure of whatever I got to pay if the price is right. I see Charlie and I share Charlie. So remember, regardless of all of your ancillary issues surrounding Erica and TPUSA and Israel and Netanyahu and President Trump and war and Iran and wherever you want to go at trans and Chantifa and wherever you want to go with this, that father is no longer in the lives of his 2 children. And that is just brutal. My brother, who is no longer in his family's life. My dad at the wake said, if I solidly believe that if President Trump was still in office, my son would be alive. And it was withholding hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, monoclonal antibodies, pushing remdesivir, blocking alternate potentially therapeutic options, pushing the ventilation tube, all of it. We hold him responsible. And, it's just painful to think about kids growing up without the person that created them and loved them the most. Charlie Kirk said, Happy Father's Day to all the men who work hard, provide for their family, who are faithful, and who stand willing to do whatever it takes to protect, love, and cherish their wife and kids. We need you more than ever. Thank you for all that you do. Arnold says Charlie was going to be a political irritant to the deep state agenda scheduling. Mm-hmm. So, to all of you out there who may have celebrated Father's Day, congratulations and thank you for raising some decent people, hopefully. You can only do so much. There's nature versus nurture versus what the heck happened to this nitwit. You can only coach someone so much. It's ultimately up to them what they do. Well, you didn't motivate them right. Shut up. No. Put blame where it lies. There are just abominations of children. You can't blame the parent every time a kid comes out wonky. Baseball players go to the Baseball Hall of Fame hitting 3 out of 10 swings in play for a hit. That's a failure rate of 70%. So anyway, I digress. But tell me in chat, how many of you are fathers? And did you do anything memorable this weekend? Something stuck with me. I'm not a human father at this stage of my life. I did I did foster Izzy when it was necessary. You've met Izzy before. He's 18 and a couple weeks away from graduating. The Air Force. He's at the academy. Pretty cool. He's going for that, and he's got his eye keen on politics after that. Pretty cool. So in a way, I don't know if there's foster parent day. I don't know if it was a legal guardian. I don't know what it was. I just say I was walking down the sidewalk. Somebody threw a baby. Someone yelled and threw a baby. He wasn't a baby. He was 10 years old, but threw a child from a 5th-story window. And I just happened to see the burning building, and I reached out my arms and caught him, helped him get through that. And, you know, I did my part for that period of time. But, you know, and I'm also a cat father, foster cats. I helped get probably about 35 foster cats permanently adopted off the mean streets of Los Angeles over 14, 15 years. So that's a role in fatherhood, you know, something. It's something. I mean, it's not. And then, of course, the cats that I have. I now have Mr. Bean. May Nimbus rest in peace. And there was a quote that I saw on one of these animals accounts, and it says, you know, you're everything to your cat. And he only knows the world that you show him. And I was like, huh. He only knows what you show him. And I've often thought about how cool it is that, like, he knew the mean streets. Then he came in. Then one day there was an incident. One cat jumped up onto the stove, knocked over one of the tins, the baking sheet, hit the floor. The cat got scared, ran out the door, and was like, oh, crap, now I'm outside. Then when I went to get him, he took off in another direction, and he was underneath the building, a couple buildings over, for weeks. Days, weeks. I forget how long he was out. It felt like years. All while Independence Day celebrations were happening. And if you know anything about the hood, they start celebrating about 2 months early, and it is all weapons grade shit that they got down in Tijuana. And so he's outside going, what am I doing now? Now I'm living under a building. I'm not being fed twice a day. Terrified. And I'd go over and see him. He'd be in the little grate in the screen. I'm like, buddy, come on. He was just too scared. We finally trapped him, got him back in, and he was relieved. And that was pretty fun. So he got to see that outside twice. Oh, he seemed so relieved. I remember bringing him in and letting him out in the bathroom. I just remember he was covered. I think he was covered in fleas, and he was just in dirt and dust, and he'd been under buildings, and he hadn't been eaten. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he went, and I mean, like the exasperated sigh of relief, and he's just so happy to be back. Like it was such a weird thing. So he experienced outdoors, indoors, outdoors, indoors. Then he experienced a drive across the country with his brother Astor. He got to experience that. A couple of crappy Motel 6s, because there's very few that'll let you bring cats in. And I had a big carrying cage with 2 of them, and I didn't want to try to sneak or have it a problem. And then he had this house, you know, he's got something different, upstairs, downstairs, just different and cool. But then, yeah, they only experience what you show them. So yeah, I'm expanding Ben's universe right now, and it's pretty cool to see. It's pretty cool to see. More on that later. But no, I looked at Ben, Mr. Bean, as, you know, he's my buddy. I'm his dad. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Caretaker, foster parent. What did I say? What was that other phrase I just used? Legal guardian. Yes, I'm the legal guardian of Mr. Bean. So anyway. Thank you to all the fathers out there. Trash Panda's going to try to watch Strictly Speaking with Bob France tomorrow. Yeah, Lord willing, I'm going to be able to get the technology right. That's the question mark. I haven't done this before. I don't know exactly what's required and how he streams. I'm confident I'll be able to do it But man, oh man, I want to get logged in and do a test run as soon as possible to make sure I'm going to be able to. Is it even light out at 7 a.m.? Barely. Barely. Marion says yes. But you're in Texas, so that's 6 or 7. You're set. Well, Oh, Trash Panda just tagged us a new one on X. Let's see this. Notification. Oh my gosh, the roster is growing. Here, let's put this out. Share this with you. Hold on. The TNAM Trash Pandas softball team is growing. Oh, this is hilarious. Here we go. Let's share this instead. Here we go. Let's go full screen. All right, Trash is 1. There you go. Brian, my football number, 69. Okay, yes, we had to shorten everybody's names a little bit to make it all work. Mark, 8. Rob, 15. Kenneth, 67. 6-7. Marion, 10. David, 27. Frank, 58. Jim, 48. Mako, 33. Danette, 28. Dina, 7. Leanne, 32. Tango. Wait, is Mako Marco? Cletus, 26. Wooly Willie. Wooly Willie. Miami Bob, 17. Palm Beach Pete, 18. Lori has no legs, 55. Oh, look at that. We got Nimbus and Ben. Ah, that's awesome. That's coming along nicely. You said you're still working on it. I love this. It's so fun. Our ever expanding crew of regulars. That's awesome. I love that. Marion is not a father. Well, there's that. Mark is father of at least 4 alive. Girl, boy, boy, girl. Custodial of 3. Wow. Well, congrats and happy Father's Day to you. But yeah, I see Charlie Kirk. I share Charlie Kirk. I love this. The TNAM Trash Pandas. Nimbus and Ben. Oh, boy, oh, boy. Actually, Ben looks a lot like She-Bound in this one. His sister. She's a polydactyl cat. Anyway, that's awesome. Thank you for that. But yeah, Charlie Kirk, you took him off the board. I see Charlie. I share Charlie. May he rest in peace and may his message move forward. All right, let's bounce over to our X feed. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with a friend. Yeah, I love that. That's such a cool softball team photo. All right, let's scroll through it. Of course, our Patreon link is pinned to the top of our X account. If you want to click here and become a monthly subscriber, it's real easy to do. And there it is. If you want to save this to your phone, if you want to grab this image, go find us on X at American_media_ at John BRENEMANTX at John JON Brenneman, Texas. Patriot Warrior, Texas. There it is right there. You can grab this image, make it your profile. Make it your Facebook profile. Make it your X account profile. And then tag us and say, reporting for duty. How fun would that be? I'm trying to have a lot of fun here because the news can be so atrocious sometimes. We might as well. Let's double check what's happening, if anything is trending. Music mogul Clive Davis has passed away at 94 years old, according to TMZ. The music executive, according to Rolling Stone, who founded Arista Records and J Records, helped shape the careers of Whitney Houston, Bruce Springsteen, Aretha Franklin, Carlos Santana, Janis Joplin, Alicia Keys, Carrie Underwood, and many others, has died at 94 years old. Shadow of Ezra says, hang on, what's this interview?
Puppy. The status of puppy. Yeah. What do you make of that situation? All right. No comment from Clive Davis. P. Diddy.
What?
P. Diddy.
He's acting confused. But Shadow of Ezra says Diddy's mentor and music mogul Clive Davis has been announced dead at 94. The allegation from Shadow of Ezra is that Clive Davis trained Diddy, which in turn allowed him to groom artists like Usher and Justin Bieber for power and control. Some people suggested it was Clive Davis who used his connections to seize blackmail tapes that Diddy had on very powerful people. Just like the real Epstein files, the Diddy tapes have all but disappeared, haven't they? So there's that accusation out there. But this is all sort of breaking. Anytime I click around on what's happening, you never know what's happening since the show begins. So there you have it. Clive Davis, gone at 94. All right, Independent Institute. This is what we were talking to you about a moment ago. The Supreme Court's ruling in United States versus Hemeny strikes down the federal ban on gun possession for some marijuana users, holding that it violates the Second Amendment as applied. Let's take a look here. This is a dude from Suncoast Normal, National Organization for... What does NORML stand for? Let me check. Jamie, look this up. National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Reform of Marijuana Laws. So here, let's take a look. This is from one of the normal accounts instead of the abnormal accounts. Here we go.
Upheld the constitutional right of cannabis consumers to legally possess firearms. In the ruling of the United States versus Hemeny, the court determined that the efforts by the federal government to categorically ban firearm ownership for individuals with a history of marijuana use violates the Second Amendment of our Constitution. Judges rejected arguments that the government ban was rooted in historical precedents or that cannabis consumers are either categorically or unusually dangerous. This was a 9-0 decision. To think that you have conservative and liberal justices all saying the Trump administration is full of shit doesn't happen very often. But when it comes to saying that our Second Amendment rights are conditional of whether or not you're a cannabis user, they called bullshit. So thank you to the Supreme Court. The majority opined the federal government asked us to conclude that anyone who regularly uses marijuana is categorically violent and dangerous without any further showing. The government maintains that it may automatically strip Mr. Hemeny of his Second Amendment right to possess a firearm because he uses marijuana a few times a week. More than that, he possessed a gun despite this prohibition. The government insists it may imprison him for up to 15 years and disarm him for life, all based on little more than its current say-so, one at odds with its own regulatory actions, affording the government that broad power to designate any group as dangerous and thereby disqualify its members from having a gun would risk it allowing to quickly swallow the Second Amendment. Now, I want to say some very big thank yous and congratulatory remarks to the people who made this.
All right. So that's a big step toward freedom there. That is a big deal. Happy to have that happen. Trash Panda says, I have to make all the rosters on PowerPoint, then send to Copilot. Otherwise, it puts all kind of weird crap on it. Yeah, AI is cool when it's functional, but it's usually kind of weird, isn't it? All right, well, let's check in on the UK. Russell Brand is asking if anything will change. Andy Burnham sworn in as the Labour MP for Makerfield.
Welcome to Andy Burnham, member for Makerfield.
You think he's going to improve anything?
Rome is saved.
So the world is saved? Yeah.
I swear by Almighty God that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles, his heirs and successors, according to law. So help me God.
You should be swearing allegiance to a constitution that protects basic civil liberties. That needs to be changed immediately. Jeez. Swearing allegiance to. They're saying this guy's going to be just like Starmer. It is jovial, a lot of smiles and laughing, but I mean, there's nothing funny about what's been happening in the UK. Anyway, this is boring. They've had so many people here in the past decade. Yay! Now, I'm not going to hold my breath thinking this is going to be as monumental a change as removing Joe Biden, the third Obama term, and replacing him with MAGA Trump. I mean, night and day, diametrically opposed. Huge difference. This, I mean, it's going to be more of the same, perhaps, but we shall see. Mark made a point about the Supreme Court ruling. It didn't change a precedent. It affirmed it. Affirmed that it was that way since the founding. Yes, shall not be infringed. This isn't complicated. Acts that are abhorrent to the Bill of Rights and Constitution, they're not legal. They're not laws if they're abhorrent to the founding documents. It's pretty standard. Shall not be infringed. Anyway, that's happening in the UK. That's Andy Burnham. We'll get to a little bit more on Andy Burnham in a second. Something that was sort of lost in the wash. Tulsi Gabbard resigned over the weekend, on Friday, rather, her last day, to be with her husband as he's undergoing medical issues, and she wants to be with him as much as possible, of course. With great humility and sincere appreciation, she shared this letter with President Trump. It's been a profound honor to serve the American people as DNI. I'll read it. Dear Mr. President, I am deeply grateful for the trust you placed in me and the opportunity to lead the Office of the Director of National Intelligence for the last year and a half. Unfortunately, I must submit my resignation effective June 30, 2026. My husband, Abraham, has recently been diagnosed with an extremely rare form of bone cancer. He faces major challenges in the coming weeks and months. At this time, I must step away from public service to be by his side and fully support him through this battle. Abraham has been my rock throughout our 11 years of marriage, standing steadfast through my deployment to East Africa on a joint special operations mission, multiple political campaigns, and now my service in this role. His strength and love have sustained me through every challenge. I cannot in good conscience ask him to face this fight alone while I continue in this demanding and time-consuming position. While we have made significant progress at ODNI, advancing unprecedented transparency and restoring integrity to the intelligence community, I recognize there is still important work to be done. I'm fully committed to ensuring a smooth and thorough transition over the coming weeks so that you and your team experience no disruption in leadership or momentum. Thank you for your understanding during this deeply personal and difficult time for my family, our family. I remain forever grateful to you and the American people for the profound honor of serving our nation as DNI. Now remember, Tulsi Gabbard was smeared by Hillary Clinton and the deep state Democrat operatives as being a Russian asset, a Putin puppet, a traitor. She was accused by the dirty deep state Democrat demons of being a traitor. Tulsi Gabbard appears to be one of the good ones. She appears to be one of the good ones. And she was dragged through the mud and accused of all sorts of treasonous acts. Pot, meat, kettle. So Tulsi is gone. But before she left, I'm going to play you this full clip that she released, a 5-minute, 21-second video exposing Anthony Fauci. This is beyond crucial First, I'll tell you what Secretary Bobby Kennedy had to say about this. Thank you, DNI Gabbard, for exposing U.S.-funded biolabs around the world. The American people deserve the truth. We'll get to Rand Paul in a moment, but let's listen to this very important, thorough report from Tulsi Gabbard about what we all know Fauci's been up to.
Before the COVID pandemic, Dr. Fauci, as head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, provided millions in U.S. taxpayer dollars to fund dangerous gain-of-function research on bat coronaviruses at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, work which is now widely viewed as the source of the unintentional lab leak that sparked the pandemic. Now, in support of President Trump's maximum transparency mandate, today, on my final day as Director of National Intelligence, I'm releasing never-before-seen communications.
Okay, I have one issue with something she said.
Lab leak that sparked the pandemic. Work which is now widely viewed as the source of the unintentional lab leak that sparked the pandemic.
Okay. I do not have information that is sufficient for me to accept that this was an unintentional lab leak. No. Show me that. Make that case to me. It is just as likely, if not more likely, that this was an intentional bioweapons attack that clicked off a set of dominoes intentionally. Maybe it was an accident. But I'm not going to say that it was an unintentional leak. I always say it was a potentially intentional lab release. It was released from the lab, and it was potentially intentional, maybe accidental. So I take issue with her verbiage right there. Other than that, I want you to hear this whole thing in its entirety.
Work which is now widely viewed as the source of the unintentional lab leak that sparked the pandemic. Now, in support of President Trump's maximum transparency mandate, today, on my final day as Director of National Intelligence, I'm releasing never-before-seen communications and documents that expose exactly how Fauci worked with politicized career leadership in the intelligence community to suppress the truth about his actions, the virus's lab leak origins, and his role in directing U.S. funding for this dangerous research that caused immeasurable harm and countless lost lives. Now, these documents expose Fauci's direct role in influencing and manipulating IC assessments on COVID-19 and how Fauci lied to Congress in 2024.
IC intelligence community.
And manipulating IC assessments on COVID-19 and how Fauci lied to Congress in 2024 when under oath he denied knowledge of or participation in discussions with intelligence officials about viral research. We also received testimony from multiple intelligence community whistleblowers who reported retaliation for challenging the intelligence community's manipulation of intelligence on the virus's origins, once again revealing a clear pattern of suppressing dissent, silencing critics, and burying the truth. Dr. Fauci's close relationships with the intelligence community.
And by the way, that right there, the cover-up will always get you. File that under the cover-up will always get you. Why? You hear that, but why? It proves intent. You're intentionally trying to hide something that's going to implicate you because you're aware of your involvement. That's what ends up getting a lot of people. Trashpan says, that's why Fauci needs to be indicted. They have the evidence. Yeah. And the hope is that the statute of limitations, oh, no, that just ran out. You weren't able to get Fauci. Hold on. No. Isn't that 5 years after the last instance? And is there a statute of limitations on murder? Like, we're talking genocide, homicide, just maniacal dealings. Reckless, irresponsible, murderous, genocidal. Don't forget, this bioweapon has been alleged to have markers for genetic markers. Certain types of people would be taken out by this. We shall see. Anyway.
And burying the truth. Dr. Fauci's close relationships with the intelligence community enabled him to assume 3 key roles that shield him from scrutiny. First, Dr. Fauci funded dangerous gain-of-function coronavirus research.
Okay, sorry. I think that the second part of what I was getting at there, I was starting to make the point and I sort of veered. If he's been in an ongoing cover-up that didn't stop 5-6 years ago, it's still going. Every instance that he's lying to Congress, every instance that he's out there covering his tracks, there might still be a way to get Fauci. And my name is Inigo Montoya. You took my mother and my brother. Prepare for justice. And it is amongst my number one wishes that I could see my brother on the other side of the pearly gates and say, hey, man, I know Fauci took you out, but I dedicated my life to making sure that he couldn't do it to anyone else and that he was held accountable in some sort of Nuremberg trial hearing where he would face justice for his crimes. There's no immunity for knowingly and intentionally. No, sadly, like presidential immunity, just it's a blanket coverage. There's really no caveats. That is, unless we can prove that Joe Biden wasn't legitimately the president of the United States. He might have conned the world for a couple of years. But what if it was the auto pen presidency? Well, if it didn't have the presidential signature, if it wasn't proven that he actually signed that, then did he actually sign it? If he wasn't actually president, is that actually valid that you gave him a pardon? Or are they going to try to get him on the statute of limitations? Like, bro, you never stopped covering this stuff up. Every time you open your mouth, you're lying about this, which is a continuation of your knowingly intentional false statements, lies to cover up your involvement in destroying a large portion of humanity. One of the most prolific serial killers of all time, between AIDS and this. That's the accusation. Will Fauci ever face legal punishment or a tribunal? And eventually maybe capital punishment, firing squad, life imprisonment, something along those lines. Treason, if it's part of the grand conspiracy that Tulsi Gabbard talked about. If Wuhan was absolutely used to push mail-in ballots so Joe Biden could just get a miracle 81 million, sure you did. How many people were involved in that grand conspiracy? We'll see. I don't know. Yeah, granted by the auto pen. So null and void. People are talking about it.
First, Dr. Fauci funded dangerous gain-of-function coronavirus research linked to Big Pharma and their pursuit of universal vaccines worth trillions of dollars. Second, Dr. Fauci was the behind-the-scenes advisor who, alongside his hand-picked so-called experts, pushed the intelligence community to endorse a natural animal origin to hide his dangerous gain-of-function research that he funded using taxpayer dollars, all of this in a deliberate attempt to cover up the truth and shift the blame and attention away from Fauci's own actions. Third,
Yeah. And when he shifted that blame away, they were shifting away the responsibility to release all the information that they had that could have prevented other people from getting sick. It could have given us more helpful, accurate, reliable information at a time when we were starved for it. But no, he worked with social media companies to shut you up as if you've been following us, yeah, we might have went pseudo dark on some platforms for some period of time when what's the point? I'm trying to work a full-time job. I certainly don't need to be on a target list. Turns out I was anyway. Another story for another day. But yeah, what's the point in researching, investigating, exposing, when all it got you was, hey, YouTube channel that you spent 15 years on, demonetized. Great. Hey, Facebook profile that you spent 15 years building, deleted. Oh, you're just going to, I no longer have access to all these people that I've been communicating. Like, for what? Because I'm talking about the 2020 election. I'm talking about coronavirus. I'm talking about, yeah. If you want to talk about COVID-19, you want to talk about the jab, you want to talk about Wuhan, you want to talk about Fauci, you want to talk about Biden, you want to talk about the 2020 grand conspiracy, you want to talk about all of it? Cool. Well, Twitter's going to shadow ban you, so your content never really connects with your audience of 9,000 people. You're, I don't know, 6,500 people following you on YouTube. They're not going to even see your stuff when you put it out there. That's like a shadow ban. There's a difference between being demonetized and shadow ban. Sure, post all day. No one's going to see it because you're on the list. You're putting out dangerous misinformation and disinformation. But hold on. The information I'm putting out is accurate, I would say, to anyone that would listen. Well, no, that's called malinformation. I'm sorry, what? Malinformation. You see, that's true information, but it kind of runs afoul of our narrative. So it's not false, but it's causing vaccine hesitancy, or it's causing people to question the legitimacy of 2020. We can't have you doing that. We can't have you doing that. Oh, there's a good point, Trash Panda. If Democrats were in charge now, and if Dr. Ben Carson was there, at NIH and all those places, Ben Carson would be in prison. That's interesting. Kenneth, Obama was rumored to have funded Game of Rumption. That's, whew. Just going to let that sit there. Alberta Arnold says Joseph Mengele was Hitler's top medical agent who experimented on human beings with sicko things. Yeah. Hey, remember Fauci testing on the poor little beagles? You forgot that one? Yeah, that was Fauci. Well, I mean, you got to test to find things out. Right. So we're going to put them in a box. We're going to make it so they can't move. And then we're going to have flesh-eating flies eat the dog's eyes and then eat his skin and flesh alive. Bite by bite from tiny flies, eaten alive. A swarm of tiny little air piranha. Well, it's not like the animals even notice. They don't even have feelings. They don't have souls. They don't experience pain. Well, see, here's the thing. The beagles were whimpering and crying so loudly and so like out of a horror movie. The Mengeles, the mini Mengeles working on these projects, they complained. Yeah, imagine that. Torturing something that's eaten alive to death slowly, painfully. Screaming, screeching, whimpering, crying. Of course, they decided at that point, we got to stop these experiments. No, they didn't, because Fauci and the team had their vocal cords slit. So every cry for help was muted. I have long volunteered, and I will reassert it now. If Fauci goes to a Nuremberg-style trial, a military tribunal, crimes against humanity, court of law, trials, convictions, capital punishment, I will volunteer the weight on my soul that would be felt by taking the life of another human. If somebody has to pull the trigger on a firing squad, if somebody gets to flip a switch on an electric chair, if somebody gets to kick the stool out underneath the gallows, if this person, Anthony Fauci, if you can even call this demon a person, You're dehumanizing him. He is not a human. This is a demon incarnate. I'm not just asking. I'm not just volunteering. I am politely demanding that you allow me to avenge my brother's death. If he's found guilty in a court of law, please let me flip the switch. I will put that on my soul. For my brother. For those beagles. For the entire globe and the chaos that you caused. You son of a bitch. Anthony Fauci.
Dr. Fauci became the nation's pandemic pundit, and he publicly pushed lies, disinformation, and censorship using every platform available. Now, according to hundreds of reviewed emails, which are included in this release, the intelligence community almost always incorporated Fauci's recommendations. He promoted a fraudulent paper whose publication he helped prompt as legitimate information for intelligence community consideration.
Is this the Lancet report where they demonized ivermectin? I'm not sure which one she's referencing.
Senior analysts praised Dr. Fauci, not as a policymaker, but as what they called an unbiased guide to the real coronavirus experts, while deliberately ignoring experts who might dissent from Fauci's narratives.
I'm sorry, unbiased?
Now, Fauci didn't stop there. He blatantly lied to Congress under oath during his 2024 testimony to the House Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic, denying that he ever spoke to any intelligence agency about COVID. Now, the correspondence I'm releasing today directly contradicts his sworn testimony. Now, we received statements from multiple whistleblowers revealing that the intelligence analysts who dared to challenge Dr. Fauci's COVID origin conclusions faced threats of retaliation, marginalization, and many suffered career setbacks. For example, a contractor was terminated just days after coming forward to ODNI as a whistleblower. Another example, those who advocated for the lab leak hypothesis or expressed dissenting views were reminded by their managers that leadership would determine which analysts would be promoted and which would not. The message was clear: go along or be punished. Senior leaders also sought to undermine whistleblowers by removing anonymity, which is required in the whistleblower process, as they made their complaints, and also insisting that their managers or attorneys be present during ODNI meetings where these whistleblowers were coming forward with their testimony, obviously creating an atmosphere of intimidation. The COVID pandemic caused tremendous hardship and pain for millions of our fellow Americans and countless people around the world. Now, after years of lies and censorship and cover-ups, the American people deserve transparency, truth, and accountability. The tactics that were used to hide the truth are straight from the deep state playbook. Politicized self-serving leaders like Dr. Fauci covered up their own wrongdoing and abuses of power, manipulated intelligence, lied to Congress, and undermined a duly elected president by restricting his access to the vital facts he needed to keep the country safe. It's time you know the truth.
And there you go. Bravo, Tulsi Gabbard, for getting this information out there. Kenneth, lab leaks require puppy pads. Yeah. Alberta Arnold, Fauci walks the streets of America away as a free man. He is shielded from prosecution and will probably head to the Vatican to have tea with Leah. I mean, Mark's saying they still have 4,000 beagles and programs to experiment on. I heard they stopped beagles. I heard they stopped that. I just shared something on that or saw something on that. Trash has a basset hound, just as cool. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Tulsi Gabbard. This is all needed. I just pray we're going to be able to do something about it. Let's check in with Rand Paul. He's been on this Tulsi Fauci thing, on the Fauci thing specifically, for a very long time. Come on, Rand. We need you here more than ever. He's with Benny Johnson.
What was Dr. Fauci trying to cover up? Like, was he trying to cover up the EcoHealth Alliance funding of this research? Was he
think
trying to
it's-
cover
I
up?
think
Do you believe that he has culpability in actually releasing this virus? Do you believe that this was meant to rig the election and to destroy the MAGA rallies and Trump's economic victories in 2020? Do you believe this was a bioweapon?
I probably wouldn't go that far. What I would say is that he was trying to protect the business of science.
I would go that far. I think it's possible, if not probable. It's definitely possible. I'm going to play that intro again. Number one, Benny did a good job of raising these questions. His delivery sucked because he's on a tape delay. He's trying to communicate with somebody else, so he kind of stepped over him 3 or 4 times, adding extra things with pregnant pauses. But yeah, from EcoHealth Alliance to sabotaging the economy, mail-in ballots, like, you don't have what happened unless all of these things happened, and they definitely happened. So I just want to play that intro again, because what Benny's tossing out there, definitely possible. Confirmed by a jury, is beyond a shadow of a doubt. Is this proven to be? No, that's what we're in the process of doing. But I believe this stuff is absolutely possible, if not probable.
What was Dr. Fauci,
even though it's unproven,
trying to cover up?
I mean, a lot of these subjects, a lot of components here are absolutely proven now. The proof is there. Where are the indictments?
Like, was he trying to cover up the EcoHealth Alliance funding of this research? Was he trying to cover up? Do you believe that he has culpability in actually releasing this virus? Do you believe that this was meant to rig the election and to destroy the MAGA rallies and Trump's economic victories in 2020? Do you believe this was a bioweapon?
I probably wouldn't go that far. What I would say is that he was trying to protect the business of science. So science, we want to think that the scientists that work in cancer research want to cure cancer and they should win the Nobel Prize and that they're noble people and honorable people. But there's also the business of science, and it's run by billions and billions of dollars. Anthony Fauci was the head of the business of science ever since 9/11. After 9/11, we became more concerned with biological warfare, so we directed billions and billions of dollars into biological warfare research, ostensibly to defend against it. But there was a lot of things being experimented upon that actually could either be for defense or could be for offense, because many things are dual use. But he became in charge of all of that money. Now, if it became known that a virus that killed 15, 18 million people, which COVID did around the world, if it became known that he knew about it and didn't provide oversight.
He did not tell us what was happening. It delayed efficacy. It delayed treatment. It limited options. But it certainly didn't do anything that would upset the apple cart for making money off of it and destroying the economy and giving the legacy media something to bludgeon President Trump over the head about every single day leading up to an election, and to silence anybody who's questioning your official narrative online. None of this happens the way that it played out without Fauci doing what he did. He is the linchpin of this.
And that there were safety lapses because this was done in an unsafe lab in China that doesn't have the same safety protocols, and that he approved it, then he would have culpability. And that the business of science might get less money. People might say, well, maybe we shouldn't put billions of dollars of research into creating viruses that don't exist in nature that might kill us all. That doubt and that problem is why he had to vehemently deny it. But he also didn't want to face culpability for those deaths, frankly. He shares some culpability. Now, I don't go so far as to say, oh, we tried to do it on purpose. He tried to kill people. No, I think it was an accident.
I am not convinced it's an accident. Alberta Arnold says, notice how these morally correct politicians end up being removed from their post. Tulsi, gone. Tulsi's a big one. Who else are some of the... Thomas Massey? He had the highest... Doesn't TPUSA have a Liberty ranking grade? I think it's TPUSA. It might be another group. But he had the highest Liberty grade according to constitutional voting. And then President Trump turned on him. That's a whole other issue for another moment. But yeah, Tulsi, despite having Council of Foreign Relations overlap, involvement, training, however you want to define it, she was one of the good ones, wasn't she?
The leak from the lab was not purposeful, but was accidental. But you still, if you preside over an accident that kills 18 million people and you're an air traffic controller and two planes run into each other and hundreds of people die, you're no longer the air traffic controller. One of the punishments is, and it doesn't mean you are necessarily an evil person, but you made a horrific error.
That is the most generous interpretation. I would say that's far too generous. I would say that's far too generous. I mean, if this is the olive branch to try to get Fauci to cooperate, I don't know. I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt of anything.
Fauci made the largest error in modern medicine, and
I don't know that it's an error. I think it was an intentional choice. I guess I'm going further than Rand Paul, big time. I'm more like Benny Johnson.
Public health policy probably ever of someone. And for that, he deserves the rebuke of history, but he also deserves never to be in a position, nor should his lieutenants be in a position of managing any of our taxpayer money again.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's so minuscule compared to the scope of what he did. Kenneth asks, are males in ballets allowed to mail in ballots? That's Kenneth, that's at the top of your wordplay. That's in your top 10. I don't know how you came up with that one.
Because they made such a profound mistake to fund dangerous research in Wuhan without adequate safety that led to the deaths of 18 million people.
You've referred Dr. Fauci for criminal prosecution to the DOJ. I just love to get your overall assessment. One, of this remarkable clip. Why is he shaking? And then two, what's going to happen to Dr. Fauci?
Oh, that's what that was?
Overall assessment. One, of this remarkable clip. Why is he shaking? And then two, what's going to happen to Dr. Fauci?
Well, the exchange where he does lie to Congress is over gain of function. This is where you take two different viruses, combine them or combine the genetics for them, and you create a new virus that doesn't exist in nature that increases its transmissibility to people or its infectiousness or its lethality to people. And he's saying, no, we never funded this in Wuhan. They did fund it, and it was gain of function. We now have private emails that were discovered through FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, that show that he knew that he had done this. And so the reason I think he's shaking is he's concerned because he's been caught in a lie. And we're not done. I referred him twice for criminal prosecution in the Biden administration. I've referred him once for criminal prosecution to the Trump DOJ. We have worked with the Trump administration and finally gotten every document, just about every document you can imagine. We've been going through these for months now. We found evidence that he destroyed federal records and he directed others to destroy federal records.
Yeah.
These are separate crimes. Now, there's a question whether or not his pardon will cover that. And we've asked him to come and testify. And people say, well, why do you ask him? Why don't you make him? Because the way the process works is you ask people first, and if they will testify, then you don't have to subpoena them. If you do have to go to a subpoena, then there may well be a court challenge, and we have another battle that we have to fight as well. So right now there is, we have asked him for information about his conversations and his use of non-governmental means of communication to do federal work. And we're going to look at what he gives to us in the next week or two. We're going to see if he will voluntarily come in and testify. But if he doesn't, we will subpoena him. So our hope is that we get a voluntary appearance. But at the very least, he's going to have to answer our questions concerning gain of function, but also destruction of records. If you'll recall, when they brought in one of his colleagues, a David Morenz, who worked with him at the NIH, Fauci acted like, oh, never knew him, hardly ever saw him. We have dozens and dozens of emails over years between the two. And Morenz was the one who said, oh, yeah, we had this FOIA lady over there who taught us how to avoid searches and requests. So what they do is they'd take, like, there was a virologist by the name of Christian Anderson who got an $8 million grant from Fauci after he supported Fauci's request to write an article saying that this couldn't have come from a lab, it had to come from nature. What they did with Anderson's name is it had a bunch of S's in it. They changed the S's into dollar signs so they wouldn't show up on a FOIA search. What I think is ironic about it is he was out there looking for money and shilling for money all the time up here. So they changed the S's in his name to dollar sign to avoid FOIA searches. There are a lot of shenanigans going on. Things that really, you talk about Watergate or you talk about scandals, they all pale. The COVID cover-up, I wrote a whole book on this, Deception, the Great COVID Cover-Up, because there's never been a cover-up more thoroughly documented, because we got most of their conversations, we got most of their emails, and we've seen them behind the scenes saying, oh my goodness, I'm pretty certain this looks like it was manipulated in a lab and came from a lab and not nature. Almost simultaneously, they're saying in public, no way, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist if you think it came from a lab. So publicly saying one thing and privately the other, probably so remarkable to ever catch somebody in such a cover-up.
Man, oh man, fingers crossed. Man, oh man, fingers crossed. What did we have in who Fauci's married to? Dr. Christine Grady, nurse bioethicist, chief of Department of Bioethics at National Institute of Health. Yeah. Who's Gavin Newsom married to? Oh, someone under investigation for money laundering. Like, they almost always use the spouses. Almost always. Oh, look, it wasn't me. It was my foundation. Sure, pal. Sure. Oh, people coming into chat, in case you missed it, we showed you this earlier. Let's put this on the screen. We have a new softball roster photo. Take a look. Dina, number there at 7. Where's Marion, number 10? Where's Mark, number 8? Kenneth, 67. Nimbus and Ben. Ah, might be my favorite part. All right. Let's keep it rolling. University of Michigan coach Dusty May finalizing a deal to become the Dallas Mavericks head coach. Allegedly, we shall see. Okay, let's take a look. They're doing a report on the algae in the reflecting pool. Are they now? Oh, there's a video with no report. Yeah, it looks pretty thin. The story is that it's analyzed. At the reflecting pool. Steve Baker says, by contrast, I can serve up the DC press corps and DOJ on a silver platter. There's irrefutable video evidence of federal officers perjuring themselves in court. There's evidence with receipts of systemic corruption at the highest levels of Capitol Police. Video evidence of criminally negligent and potentially lethal use of less than lethal munitions against J6. There we go. I'll do it like that. Against J6 protesters, along with the identity of offending officers. This is all, hang on, I'm reading this sort of backwards. Matt Van Swold put this out. He says, I've literally seen more investigative journalism on the damn reflecting pool than all journalism done by media on all fraud combined. So that's what this is in response to. Physical proof Brian Cole Jr. cannot be the J6 pipe bomber. But the reflection pool is a national existential crisis deserving of all mainstream media investigative resources. Now, if you really want to get the attention of legacy press, write a story about a CIA and FBI cover-up operation. And said media outlets will immediately do the bidding of their masters in an attempt to shame and debunk your work. By the way, how they define debunked in those newsrooms and editorial meetings is to take calls from 3 unnamed sources at FBI, CIA, and or Claire Locke, but I repeat myself. Then declare in a headline that your story has been debunked, never doing the actual work of debunking required to know whether or not your story is wrong before going to press. But they'll get down on their hands and knees and put on rubber waders in order to literally get to the bottom of the reflection pool crisis. Sadly, the so-called conservative press isn't so far behind their mainstream media counterparts. They get the same phone calls from the same 3 unnamed sources, but now conservative media also gives those calls credence because this is now our FBI, our CIA, and Trump's appointees leading those governmental crime syndicates. But please, carry on. I just can't get enough about summer algae in D.C. Very curious to see how the reflecting pool pans out. It doesn't look like it's repaired, and we're wondering who is responsible. Is it the vendor? Is it Trump? Is it protesters, vandals? Maybe a combination of all. Or let's wait and see how it shakes out. Doge designer says SpaceX will be paid $2.32 billion per month from these 3 AI compute deals. Wow. Reflection, $150 million a month. Google, $920 million a month. Anthropic, $1.25 billion a month. That's a nearly $28 billion annual run rate from AI compute alone. Good grief. Let's check in on Algaegate.
Yes! More algae! More algae. Team algae for the reflection pool.
They're holding signs that say Team Algae.
Oh my God. I am so fucking happy somebody else is as bored as I am. Because I'm so excited to be out here at the reflection pool talking about how I want algae. Oh my God, look at that. Mushroom, dick. I want algae. Give me more algae now. I want it now. Full-blown mental fucking illness. I don't know how else to say it to you. This is absolutely wiped. If you think that this makes a statement, all it does is make a statement about what the hell everybody's been thinking for a long fucking time, and is that you got brain damage. That's about it. I mean, I'm just being honest. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry. Pro-algae protest, people.
Algae, let's go! Algae, let's go! Algae, let's go! Algae, let's go! Let's go! Algae, let's go! Let's go! Algae, let's go! Let's go! Algae! God sent the algae! Don't play God! Don't play God! God sent the algae! God sent the algae! God sent the algae!
This is who you're debating online. So the Democrats are so crazy, we have to have the police and National Guard protect a reflection pool. Gunther Eagleman says liberalism is a mental illness.
Police down here at the reflecting pool for peeling a piece of bottom, caught red-handed by all these guys. Yeah. They have to decide what's going to happen to him. Police down here at the...
And I think someone that was arrested, that could be this one. It was a former Olympian, Olympic, was he a biker or something? Some summer sport, maybe bicycling or something. I think the claim was there was a floating piece and he took a piece. I don't know. I don't see a problem with that. But if everyone takes a piece, there's nothing left, or it just contributes to the problem. Just like they say on beaches, you're not supposed to take the shells. So if everyone took the shells, there'd be no shells left. Like, you're not, but I don't know. That's a big nothing to me. But if he's slicing it with a knife to rip it up, then yeah, you arrest that guy. Absolutely. So Department of State says The State Department is protecting Americans from foreign fraudsters by ensuring these foreigners can't travel to the U.S. We revoked the visas of these foreign nationals who swindled investors, looted taxpayer-funded programs, and abused our system. A foreign national advising Americans on their investments stole millions of dollars from people trying to grow their businesses and savings, abusing their trust and wrecking their financial security. We won't tolerate fraud that harms hardworking Americans. Visas have been revoked. Medicaid scam, billed over $5 million in fake services. Visa revoked. Foreign national built a company on lies, faking revenue and fooling investors, forging letters to secure a visa. Visa revoked. People plundering taxpayer-funded programs and abusing our visa systems are no more. So it appears that some efforts to curtail fraud are happening. I want more, but hey, that's a good place to be. We like stories like that. Socialism just died in South America. Here's Benny again. Let's get a quick top report. I'm not going to play you the whole 9 minutes here. The stuff we did on Fauci, the reason we played those in their entirety, both Tulsi Gabbard and Rand Paul, I mean, it is the biggest story of our lifetimes, what happened with Fauci at the center of it. We have to be united to get him to face justice. It has to be. It has to be completed. But let's check in now that U.S. aid is no longer funding all the bad guys across South America. How are they faring in their elections? Are they doing okay? Marxist, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay, Marxist? You've been hit by, you've been struck by, no more U.S. aid. Da-da-da-da-da-dun-dun. Oh, as I'm humming this song, that's a good reminder. My Friday show said that I had to split revenue. I'm on revenue sharing. Because 72 seconds of the song that they cited was a song. It was going. There was no music. There were no words. There was just some generic music behind a video that I was watching. It was the one of the ICE agent saving the drowning kid from the pool. So as we watched it, there was generic music in the back of it. And because of that, they put a copyright claim and they wanted to take half my earnings that day. Out of the pennies in the wishing well that were tossed in there because advertisements played, they want to take half. So I had to go in and dispute it. They already took half of, the major number of views. So I got to be careful saying, Marxist, are you okay? Actually, it doesn't matter. There are provisions that say you can make parodies of songs. And that you have the right to use clips of videos to provide original transformative coverage. It doesn't mean YouTube isn't going to steal my money anyway. So once again, there's a good reminder. Please consider signing up on Patreon, YouTube, or Rumble to become a monthly subscriber. It takes like 3-4 minutes to set up. You enter your information. If there's any dispute later, you can cancel with your credit card. It's super easy. Set it and forget it. If you want to do something one time and done, Rumble, Rant Tip, Super Chat Tip, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, all scrolling at the bottom of the screen. But yeah, as I started singing a parody of a Michael Jackson song, making the joke that I'll get a copyright claim, it's because I have to do revenue sharing on my Friday show for 72 seconds of non-music music that didn't add anything to the content of praising a guy for jumping into a pool to save a drowning kid. And because of that error in judgment, whatever that is, I just split revenue with. So I'm in the process of editing that out to take the music out. It's just so frustrating. Damn you, music. Mendoza. Yeah, damn you, music. All right, let's take a look in South America. What's going on? Huge news for Colombia.
It was the F-roundest of times and the find-outingest of times, and the midget Marxist president of Colombia, who moonlights as one of the world's largest drug smugglers, just found out. A few short months ago, Colombia's President Gustavo Petro was taunting President Trump. Come get me, you coward. I'm waiting for you.
A mí no me amenace. Aquí lo espero si quiere. No acepto invasiones. No acepto misiles. No acepto.
Here's the thing about Colombian drug smuggler presidents and little bookworm Marxists like this guy. You don't have any more USAID. You have no more socialist dollars from American left-wingers to funnel into Latin American elections. And so...
But Benny, it's not from American left-wingers. They steal our money and then they reroute it that way. They take MAGA money and they give it to places like Marxist dictators.
Talk is cheap, buddy. And he just lost in a landslide to far-right multimillionaire El Tigre, El Abierto de la Espreria. I think that's the way you say it. I'm not sure. I don't speak Spanish, but I do speak American, and this is just getting your ass kicked, ladies and gentlemen. This is somebody who they're calling like the man who's going to El Salvador, Colombia, effectively. Round up all the criminals, clean up all the streets, and liberate the nation. And you can see here the nation is very excited for the victory party is rocking.
Good, protect that guy.
For the new president of Colombia, who won in what some may call a razor-thin margin, but a margin nonetheless. Let's just say that with all of the left-wing election rigging and communist Chinese election rigging from around the world, that this is certainly...
but they're all in jerseys. Are we sure this isn't from the World Cup?
A victory.
Oh, okay. Here's President Trump's reply. We'll bounce past this after this.
President Trump congratulating Colombian President El Tigre, the tiger, saying that he's going to create jobs and deliver law and order. Donald Trump has sent a number of bangers on behalf of this guy, and this is my favorite map in the world. Man, 2023, left-wing nations in South America, 10. Right-wing nations, 3. June 2026, right-wing nations 7, left-wing 6, and everything is getting very unstable right in this region right here. And everybody knows that the Brazilian election was stolen from Bolsonaro. And so we're going to see something pretty remarkable in Latin America. Again, red means left-wing, red means like red Marxist, blue means freedom and capital.
I don't like this map because it's confusing. Because red is Republican, blue is derp.
Capitalism and free market. And Greenland should, of course, be ours. So there's that. But you can see here that the continent is making quite a dramatic shift to the right. That is a beautiful thing. The map of America is boasting right-wing candidates in Latin America. The blue wall is coming.
You know what's going with Brazil? Let's get Brazil.
The blue wall right here. Absolutely sturdy.
And let's fix Mexico and Canada.
This is exactly what happens when we defund USAID. That's right. Right-wing candidate has been elected the new president of Colombia. Very, very Trumpian. People love this guy. The people love this guy. The streets of Colombia are roaring. You can see here.
Anyway, you get it. Congratulations, Colombia. There's music there. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio spoke with Colombian President-elect Abelardo de la Espriella, officially recognizing him as the country's next leader. President Petro will try and fail to override the election results. Socialists are livid tonight. Rubio says just spoke with Colombian President-elect to congratulate him on his electoral victory. The Trump admin looks forward to working closely with your incoming administration to advance regional security cooperation and illegal immigration to the United States and strengthen our economic ties. Colombia's best days are ahead. Trump endorsed wins continue. C3 said this about Keir Starmer, who's leaving. We'll get to Keir Starmer resigning and crying, and we'll wrap up today's show because like I said at the top, if you're just joining me, number one, please make sure you're following us on all platforms. Number two, consider Rumble Rant Super Chat. Number three, the announcement is that I have been offered the opportunity to guest host Strictly Speaking with Bob France, his show tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Make sure you all follow him on Rumble, Strictly Speaking Unfiltered with Bob France. So yeah, I'm going to wrap up this show after a couple of Keir Starmer clips because I got some technical work to do. I got to figure out how to log in, I need to learn how to fly his plane if I'm going to be the guest pilot tomorrow. So I got to get to getting. Although we've done 2 hours, 15 minutes today. This has been a robust show of sorts. But you know me, I could do 4 or 5 hours a day. No big whoop. But yeah, please make sure you're following Strictly Speaking Unfiltered with Bob France on Rumble, please. He's on YouTube as well. And you know what? If you guys can only watch him on YouTube, I know he prefers getting people on Rumble. He would love to see TNAM Army checking in with comments tomorrow. So if I'm able to get the technology to work, we'll make that happen tomorrow, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Please tune in for that. Fingers crossed. It's just the tech. That's the only thing that we got to make work. I'm down to do it. I'm down to put some energy into figuring it out, but there are known unknowns and unknown unknowns, as Donald Rumsfeld so famously said. Anyway, what was known about Keir Starmer in England? Well, C3 gives us some truth. He says, you want some truth on this? What's going on? We were never supposed to know what the UK leadership, the police, what they did to Henry Nowak. He was stabbed and let to bleed out. They cuffed him, and it might have popped the clotting that had formed around the wound that basically removed any opportunity of saving this young man's life. We were never supposed to know what they did to Henry Nowak. We were never supposed to know about the grape of 250,000 UK girls, the Pakistani Islamic supremacist grooming gangs brutalizing hundreds of thousands of UK girls. Without X, we wouldn't have known about any of it. The media would have seen to it that these stories were covered up. And that is why Starmer is slithering away, and he needs to pay for it. He needs to be indicted, charged with the treasonous acts that he's committed.
And when I leave the biggest job in the country, I shall spend more time on the most important job, being the best husband I can to my fantastic wife, Vic, who has been a rock by my side through good times and bad.
Oh, quit your bellyache. And this is the most bad time UK. I mean, is this a new low?
And being the best dad I can.
You were a terrible father on Father's Day to the people of your nation. It's your job to be the shepherd to protect your flock. And you? I mean, it's on the level of Fauci. Just how disgustingly traitorous this all was. Piers Morgan says it's a sad end to a dismal tenure. Never seen such a big election win end in such an abject failure so fast. Bottom line, he wanted power but didn't know how to lead the country. He was the ultimate man without a plan. No, Piers Morgan. Agree to disagree. His plan was to invade the country with non-citizens, to flood the nation with non-citizens, and to prioritize their gripes and complaints and wants and needs, to fund the invaders at the expense of the indigenous people of the UK. No, that's called treason. That was a plan. What's this? The general says Keir Starmer resigns. He made a statement saying the mass invasion of the UK was done by design and all the Western leaders were in on it. Starmer is directly responsible for the rape and murder of countless UK citizens.
Because a failure on this scale isn't just bad luck. It isn't a global trend or taking your eye off the ball. No, this is a different order of failure. This happened by design not accident. Policies were reformed deliberately to liberalise immigration. Brexit was used for that purpose, to turn Britain into a one-nation experiment in open borders. Global Britain.
And you dope went along with it. You dope. You went along with it, selling out your countrymen. Selling out the indigenous citizens of England. Guys, we got to start using their own words against them. We have to at every chance we get. Indigenous Americans. Indigenous Brits. Indigenous Brits. That's another good band name. Kevin Bass says Henry Nowak is murdered by an immigrant, his family, and the police. I don't know that he was an immigrant. Maybe the mom was. A man is nearly beheaded by an immigrant. Yeah, by the way, I'm sorry. We got the crocodile guy. You got the grooming gangs. You have the developmentally disabled guy, the dude on top of him trying to saw his head off. This is England. England, you must claw back your right to self-defense. You have no right to commit acts of violence against others, but shouldn't we have the right as humans to carry weapons, guns, weapons of war, whatever you want to call it, for self-defensive purposes at all times and all places? Humans have that right. Otherwise, we're your cattle. Otherwise, we're subhuman. Kenneth, once Britain, twice shy. My. It's once Britain, twice shy, baby. Yeah, the torture of indigenous Brits. Yep. Dina says the UK passed the Rwanda plan to transfer illegals to Rwanda, but then it was scrapped as inhumane and they had to adhere to international legal obligations. How did Keir Starmer respond to all these attacks against the indigenous Brits? Social media ban, digital ID, and a proposed VPN ban. Why? He wants the Muslim vote. Rupert Lowe sums it up. I'll end on Rupert Lowe's part. What is this question here? I'll bounce up to it. Keir Starmer's off on a farewell tour. Andy Burnham wants a summer holiday. Neither is thinking about our national security. The country is not being governed, and Labor says there won't be a prime minister till September. We need to cut welfare and fund our military, says Kerry Badenoch, leader of the Conservative Party. The 200-page Grape Gang Grooming Inquiry Report, Pakistani grape gangs in the UK, published. The institutions covered it all up, including Keir Starmer, the PM. It's horrific. In summary, it estimates 250,000 British girls abused in 149 districts across the UK over years. These are not isolated incidents. They're organized networks, mostly made up of men, Pakistani origin between 87 and 95%, according to convictions and data. It includes extremely graphic, disturbing testimonies. Examples: one victim AR'd by 600 to 700 men in 3 years. Girls locked in cages like dogs, burned with cigarettes, waterboarded, strangled, and AR'd with objects. Medical and police failures that worsened the trauma, ethnic, religious racism from the abusers. And the worst part isn't just the abuse. It's that the institutions knew and they looked the other way. Police, social services, councils, NHS, and schools received complaints and ignored them, destroyed evidence, and even arrested the victims for consenting. You arrested the victim, Henry Nowak, as he was bleeding out. I've been stabbed. I don't think you have, mate. The fear of being labeled as a racist was stronger than the drive to protect the girls. This is where the story leads straight to Keir Starmer. Between 2008 and 2013, he, much like Fauci in his oversight roles and the most horrific stuff you've ever imagined, he was the director of public prosecutions. Oh, and the head of the Crown Prosecution Services, the agency deciding which cases to pursue. So this guy wasn't just a dude that sucked as his job as running Britain for a year or two. Oh, no. He's got his fingerprints all over this cover-up. During his tenure, over 13,000 child abduction warning notices were issued to suspects in these gangs. These are soft warnings with no consequences. That's how he dealt with the abuse of the indigenous British. Instead of strong criminal proceedings, they went for pats on the back. Key cases like Rockdale started with CPS decisions not to prosecute, supposedly prioritizing avoiding community tensions over justice. Community tensions. You son of a bitch. The report calls it out clearly, along with others like Sadiq Khan or Andy Burnham. The Labour Party and councils and nationally prioritized votes in the affected ethnic communities and avoiding confronting the pattern to not appear racist or xenophobic. Absolute sellout. Starmer has said that he pushed for some prosecutions afterward, but the facts show a system that failed systematically under his leadership. Today, as Prime Minister, he promised a national inquiry, but many see it as too late after years of pressure with an approach that some critics say diluted accountability. That is a nice way to say that. Piers Morgan says President Trump confirms Keir Starmer is resigning as Prime Minister before Starmer has confirmed it himself. This is the final humiliation. President Trump says Keir Starmer will resign as Prime Minister of the UK. He failed badly on two very important subjects, immigration and energy. Open the North Sea oil. I wish him well. President DJT. Benny breaks it down. He resigns as British Prime Minister. He allowed an Islamic third world invasion of the UK and the destruction of Western civilization, increased government censorship, made it illegal to criticize the government online. Yeah, the UK is by far one of the worst. I believe it's easily the worst, but fact check me if you need to. Abusers of people speaking their mind, being arrested for thought crimes, speech crimes, for calling out the abuse of the indigenous Brits. Made it illegal to criticize the government online, restricted religious freedoms for Christians, ostracized white people as racists and bigots, contributed to a large-scale government cover-up of Pakistani grape gangs. And the list goes on and on. He's leaving his party just as he found it. Politically, financially, and morally bankrupt. Goodbye, Keir. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Says a new leader will be in place before Parliament returns in September. I will remain in post until the contest is complete. He's gone. What's this?
So Keir Starmer is gone. He stood at the lectern, he's been 2 years in situ, and he's now resigned from power. There's going to be an election competition starting in the next few weeks. Andy Burnham is the man likely to replace him, but let's be honest, Keir Starmer has been a shit Prime Minister. He's the least popular man in this job in many, many, many years. We all know the song, Keir Starmer is a wanker.
Keir Starmer is a wanker, that's the song. Labour will probably vote in Andy Burnham, who aligns with Muslim extremists. A vote for UK Labour is a vote for Islamic extremism and a welcome party for people who hate us. Oppose UK Labour. Libs of TikTok says, while Starmer was director of public prosecutions, 13,000 suspected grape gang members and pedos were left off with warning letters. Keir Starmer can't just resign, he should be prosecuted. Exactly. Rupert Lowe MP, I'll give him the last word of the day on this. Starmer has played a large part in the destruction of our nation. I have no sympathy for him at all, and neither do I. And that's why we're leaving it. That's where we're leaving it for now. Thank you, everybody, for being here on the TNAM Daily Show. Like I said, hit like, hit the thumbs up button, hit subscribe. Consider becoming a monthly supporter on Patreon, Rumble, or YouTube, or dropping us a singular Rumble rant or super chat tip. You can try Venmo or Cash App at my name, Brian Engelman, or PayPal, fuzzinstallment@yahoo.com. Program note, I've been invited to guest host Strictly Speaking Unfiltered with Bob France tomorrow, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Lord willing, I'll be able to get the technology I need, the passwords, the logins, the setup, the know-how, and I will do the show tomorrow if I am physically able to do it. So if any or all of you watching can tune in tomorrow and drop your TNAM love into Strictly Speaking's comments section, it would be a blast, provided we can get the ship out of the harbor. So stay tuned on that. Otherwise, we'll still plan on doing our show at noon Eastern time tomorrow. So, signing out on behalf of everybody out there in the TNAM universe. Thank you, everybody in chat. I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody. Peace.
Your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.